I had the venue booked. The invitations were sent. Our honeymoon was planned down to the last detail. In just 2 months, I was supposed to marry the woman I loved. Everything felt perfect, like all the pieces of my life were finally falling into place. Then my phone rang on a Friday night. It was my brother Kyle, and his voice was shaking. He said he needed to talk about Amanda. My heart dropped right there. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. And if you think family loyalty should have limits, hit that like button and subscribe, because this story is about to show you what happens when blood is not thicker than betrayal. Let me take you back to where it all started. Amanda and I met 3 years before all of this went down. She was working at a marketing firm downtown, and I ran into her at a coffee shop near my office. She spilled her latte on my shirt, and somehow that mess turned into our first conversation. We laughed about it. She offered to buy me another coffee. By the end of that week, we had our first date. She was smart, funny, and had this energy that made every room feel brighter. A year into dating, I knew she was the one. I proposed at the same coffee shop where we met. She cried. I cried. It felt like everything was exactly how it should be. Kyle was my younger brother 3 years behind me. Growing up, I always looked out for him. When he struggled in school, I helped him study. When he lost his job 2 years ago, I lent him $15,000 to start a small business that never really took off. He never paid me back, but I did not push it. That is what brothers do. Right, you help each other. Kyle had always been the one who needed more support, more guidance. I never minded. He was my little brother. Amanda met Kyle through me, obviously. The three of us would hang out sometimes. Dinners, movies, barbecues. I thought it was great that they got along. I wanted my future wife and my brother to be comfortable around each other. I never imagined how comfortable they would become. About 4 months before the wedding, I started noticing small things. Amanda would be on her phone more than usual, smiling at messages, and then quickly putting it away when I walked into the room. When I asked who she was texting, she would say it was just a friend from work or her sister. I believed her because why would I not? Kyle also became harder to reach. He would cancel plans last minute or give vague excuses about where he had been. One afternoon, I came home early from work and saw his car parked near Amanda's apartment complex. I thought it was strange, but when I asked him about it later, he said he had been there to ask Amanda for advice about a job application. She was good at that stuff, he said. She had helped him polish his resume. It made sense. I let it go. Looking back now, I hate how easily I accepted those explanations. But you do not expect the people you love to lie to your face. The call came on a Friday evening in late September. I was sitting in my living room going over the wedding checklist. We still had to finalize the seating chart and confirm the cake flavor. My phone buzzed. Kyle's name flashed on the screen. I answered, expecting him to ask about the bachelor party plans or something casual. Instead, his voice came through shaky and broken. He said, "Cody, I need to see you. Right now." I asked if everything was okay. He just said, "Please, just meet me." "I will explain." He told me to come to the parking lot near my apartment. I grabbed my keys and drove there, my mind racing through possibilities. Maybe he was in some kind of trouble. Maybe he needed money again. I never could have guessed what was actually coming. When I pulled into the parking lot, Kyle was already there, leaning against his car. His face was pale. His eyes were red, like he had been crying. I got out and walked toward him, my stomach tightening with every step. I asked him what was wrong. He could not look at me. He stared at the ground and said, "I do not know how to say this." Then he just blurted it out. "Amanda is pregnant." For a second, I felt confused. I almost smiled, thinking maybe Amanda had told him before telling me. I said, "Yeah, I know. We have not told everyone yet. How did you find out?" He shook his head hard. "No, Cody. It is not yours. It is mine." The world stopped. I could not breathe. My ears started ringing. I asked him to repeat what he just said because I must have heard him wrong. He looked up at me with tears streaming down his face. He said, "Amanda and I have been seeing each other. It started a few months ago. She is pregnant. The baby is mine." I felt like someone had reached into my chest and ripped my heart out. I stood there frozen, unable to process the words. My brother, my fiancée, pregnant. How does that even happen? He tried to explain through his sobs. He said it started after a night when Amanda and he had been drinking together while I was out of town for work. One thing led to another. Then it kept happening. He said they never meant for it to go this far. He said he was sorry. Sorry. That word felt like a joke. I got in my car and drove straight to Amanda's apartment. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely grip the steering wheel. My mind was spinning with images I did not want to see, questions I did not want answered. I needed to hear it from her. I needed to look her in the eyes and know if this nightmare was real. When I got to her building, I did not even remember parking. I just ran up the stairs and knocked on her door. Hard. She opened it, and the second I saw her face, I knew. She looked terrified. Her eyes went wide. She whispered, "Kyle told you." I pushed past her into the apartment. I asked her if it was true. She started crying immediately. She nodded. "Yes, it is true." "I am so sorry, Cody. I did not mean for this to happen." I asked her how long. She hesitated, then finally admitted it had been going on for about 4 months. 4 months. While we were planning our wedding. While I was picking out flowers and tasting cakes and imagining our future. She had been sleeping with my brother. I asked her how she could do this. She cried harder and said she did not know. She said she still loved me, but there was something about Kyle that she could not explain. A connection. Those words made me feel sick. I told her I did not want to hear it. I asked if she was really pregnant. She nodded again. 2.5 months along. I asked if she was sure it was his. She said yes. They had done the timeline. It was Kyle's. I stood there in her living room surrounded by pictures of us together by the life we were supposed to build, and I felt like I was disappearing. I told her we were done. She reached for me, begging me not to leave like this, saying we could talk through it. I pulled away and walked out. I could not be in that space another second. 2 days later, my parents called a family meeting. I knew what it was about. Kyle had already told them everything. When I walked into my parents' house, Kyle and Amanda were both sitting at the kitchen table. My mom had been crying. My dad looked exhausted. Everyone sat in this horrible silence until my mom finally spoke. She said, "This is a heartbreaking situation for everyone." My dad nodded and said, "But we need to think about what is best for the baby." I could not believe what I was hearing. The baby. What about what they did to me? My mom looked at me with these sad, pleading eyes and said, "Cody, I know this is painful, but Amanda is pregnant with your brother's child. That baby is going to be part of this family." Then my dad dropped the bomb. He said, "Maybe it is time to consider canceling the wedding. To let Kyle and Amanda figure out their situation. To let them be together for the sake of the child." I sat there stunned. They were asking me to step aside, to give up my fiancée so my brother could play house with her. My mom reached across the table and touched my hand. She said, "Sweetheart, I know this is asking a lot, but family is everything. Kyle made a mistake, but he needs to take responsibility now. You are strong. You will move on. But that baby needs a father." I pulled my hand away. I looked at Kyle, who was staring at the table, unable to meet my eyes. I looked at Amanda, who was crying quietly. Then I looked back at my parents and said, "You are asking me to give them my blessing." My dad sighed and said, "We are asking you to be mature about this, to think about what is right." I stood up. I told them I needed time. I walked out of that house feeling more alone than I had ever felt in my life. Over the next 2 weeks, the pressure got worse. My grandmother called me. She said, "Cody Honey family is the most important thing. Your brother made a mistake, but you have to forgive him. My uncle reached out and told me not to be selfish. He said Kyle was young and needed a chance to do the right thing. Even some of my mutual friends with Kyle started hinting that I should let it go. One of them actually said, "Bro, the situation is what it is. The baby did not ask for this. You have got to think bigger picture." It felt like I was living in an alternate reality. The people who were supposed to have my back were telling me to sacrifice my dignity and my future for the sake of everyone else's comfort. Meanwhile, Amanda and Kyle started showing up together at family events. They sat next to each other. My mom took Amanda to a doctor's appointment. It was like they were already a couple, and I was just the obstacle that needed to move out of the way. I spent those weeks canceling everything: the wedding venue, the caterer, the photographer. Every phone call was humiliating. I had to explain over and over why the wedding was off. Some vendors were understanding. Others were annoyed about losing the deposit. I lost thousands of dollars. But the money was not even the worst part. The worst part was sitting alone in my apartment at night staring at the engagement ring Amanda had returned, realizing that the two people I trusted most in the world had destroyed me. And my own family was asking me to pretend it was fine. Then came the dinner. My parents invited me over for what they called a family discussion. I knew it was bad when I walked in and saw the dining table set like it was some kind of formal event. Kyle and Amanda were already seated. My mom had cooked a full meal like that was going to make this easier. We all sat down and the tension was suffocating. My dad cleared his throat and said, "We are all here because we need to move forward as a family." My mom nodded and smiled weakly at me. She said, "Cody, we know this has been hard on you, but it is time to heal." Then Kyle spoke up. He looked at me for the first time in weeks and said, "Cody, I know what I did was unforgivable, but Amanda and I want to do the right thing. We want to get married and raise this baby together, and we would really like your blessing." Amanda reached over and took Kyle's hand. She looked at me with this expression that was somehow both guilty and expectant. My dad leaned forward and said, "Son, we are asking you to show some maturity here, to be the bigger person, to let your brother step up and be a father." I sat there staring at all of them, and something inside me snapped. Not in an angry way, but in a clear way. I realized that they were not asking me to forgive. They were asking me to disappear, to erase myself so they could all feel better about what had happened. I stood up. My mom asked where I was going. I did not answer. I just walked out of that house, got in my car, and drove home. I did not sleep that night. I sat in my apartment thinking about everything, and that is when I decided I was not going to let them erase me. I was going to take control of the situation, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. The next morning, I called my lawyer. He was the same guy who had helped me buy my condo a couple years earlier. I explained the situation. I asked him what options I had. He listened carefully, took some notes, and then started outlining things I had not even thought about. First, the apartment Amanda was living in. It was in my name. I had been letting her stay there rent-free because we were supposed to get married. Legally, it was my property. Second, the car she was driving. I had co-signed the loan and made most of the payments. I still had ownership rights. Third, Kyle owed me $15,000 from that business loan I gave him 2 years ago. We had signed a simple agreement back then. He had never paid me back, and I had never pushed it. But legally, that debt was real. Fourth, Amanda and I had opened a joint bank account to save for the wedding and our future. There was about $30,000 in that account. Most of it came from me. My lawyer said that since both our names were on it, I had every legal right to withdraw my share. Then there were the gifts. Over the past year, I had given Amanda expensive presents: a laptop that cost $3,000 for her work, a jewelry set worth about $7,000 for her birthday. I still had the receipts. My lawyer explained that in some cases, engagement gifts could be considered conditional. If the engagement ended because of infidelity, I might have a case to reclaim them. I sat in his office taking all of this in. I was not trying to ruin anyone. I just wanted what was mine. I wanted to make it clear that actions have consequences. My lawyer drew up the paperwork. We started with the eviction notice for Amanda. She had 30 days to vacate my property. Then we sent a demand letter to Kyle. He had 30 days to start repaying the $15,000 or I would file a claim in small claims court. I withdrew my portion from the joint bank account. I canceled all the shared credit cards and subscriptions that I had been paying for. For the car, I contacted Amanda directly through my lawyer. She could either buy out my share, which was valued at around $12,000, or return the car. I also requested the return of the laptop and jewelry, citing the receipts and the conditional nature of the gifts. I knew this would cause chaos, but I also knew I had been too kind, too passive, too willing to sacrifice myself. That ended now. Within a week, everything started to fall apart for them. Amanda called me panicking. She said she could not afford to buy the car or pay me for it. She did not have $12,000 lying around. I told her she would have to return it then. She started crying, saying she needed the car to get to work. I said that was not my problem anymore. She had 30 days to figure it out, just like the apartment. Kyle also called. He was furious. He said I was being petty and cruel. I told him he had signed an agreement to pay me back and he had never done it. Now I was enforcing it. He said he did not have $15,000. I told him he should have thought about that before sleeping with my fiancée. He could set up a payment plan or I would take him to court. He hung up on me, but I was not done. I sent an email to every single person who had been invited to our wedding. The email was simple and factual. I explained that the wedding had been canceled because my fiancée was pregnant with my brother's child. I did not add drama or emotion. I just stated the truth. I thanked everyone for their support and said I was moving forward with my life. That email spread like wildfire. Within days, everyone knew. Extended family members, mutual friends, colleagues. People started reaching out to me with messages of support. Some were horrified. Others were angry on my behalf. The narrative flipped. Suddenly, Kyle and Amanda were not the victims of a complicated situation. They were the people who had betrayed someone who loved them. My parents started getting calls from relatives asking what the hell was going on. My aunt called my mom and tore into her for pressuring me to give my blessing. A couple of my cousins reached out to me privately saying they were disgusted by what Kyle had done and that they supported me completely. Amanda could not come up with the money for the car. She had to return it. Suddenly, she was stuck borrowing her mom's old sedan and relying on Kyle to drive her places. But Kyle did not have a reliable car either. She had to move out of my apartment and go back to living with her parents. Their house was small and now Amanda was pregnant, cramped, and miserable. Kyle tried to ignore the demand letter, so my lawyer filed in small claims court. The court ruled in my favor. Kyle now had a judgment against him which tanked his credit score. He could not get a loan, could not rent a decent place, and was stuck working a low-paying job trying to make payments he could not afford. My parents, who had been so eager to push Kyle and Amanda together, started seeing the reality. Kyle and Amanda were constantly fighting about money. Amanda resented Kyle for not being able to provide. Kyle resented Amanda for getting pregnant in the first place. They were toxic. My mom called me one night crying. She said, "Cody, I am so sorry. I was wrong. I should never have asked you to give them your blessing. I should have supported you." My dad called a few days later. He said he had been trying to do what he thought was right for the family, but he realized he had treated me unfairly. He apologized. I accepted their apologies, but I also told them that I needed space. I needed time to rebuild my life without constantly being reminded of what they had done to me. Kyle and Amanda are still together as far as I know, but their relationship is a mess. The baby was born, and from what I have heard through the family grapevine, they are struggling. They fight constantly. Money is tight. They are not happy. And honestly, I do not feel any satisfaction from that. I just feel free. Free from people who did not value me. Free from a family dynamic that asked me to shrink myself. Free to build a life that I actually want. The first few months after everything fell apart were brutal. I would wake up in the middle of the night with my chest tight, replaying every moment. Not just the betrayal, but the way my family had handled it. The way they had looked at me like I was the problem. But I started therapy. I found a counselor who specialized in family trauma and betrayal. She helped me understand that what I was feeling was not just about Amanda or Kyle. It was about being invalidated by the people who were supposed to protect me. Slowly, I started to process it all. I reconnected with some old friends from college, guys I had not talked to in years because I had been so focused on building a life with Amanda. They took me out, let me vent, reminded me that I was more than this situation. I threw myself into my work. I had always been good at my job, but now I became great. I took on extra projects, stayed late, pushed myself. 6 months after everything happened, I got a promotion. It came with a significant raise and more responsibility. My boss told me I had earned it. That felt good, really good. I also started working out, not in an obsessive way, but in a way that made me feel strong again. I joined a gym near my place and went every morning before work. I started running. I signed up for a half marathon and trained for it. Crossing that finish line felt like proof that I could commit to something and see it through even when things got hard. I traveled. I took a trip to Colorado and spent a week hiking in the mountains. I went to New York and saw some shows. I did things I had always wanted to do but had put off because Amanda was not interested or because we were saving money for the wedding. It felt incredible to make decisions just for myself. And then, almost a year after everything had blown up, I met someone. Her name was Julia. We met at a work conference. She was funny, smart, and kind. We started as friends, just grabbing coffee and talking about our jobs. I was not looking for a relationship. I was not ready. But she was patient. She did not push. And slowly I realized I was ready to try again. Not because I had forgotten what happened, but because I had healed enough to believe that not everyone would hurt me the way Amanda and Kyle did. My relationship with my parents improved, but it is different now. They understand that they failed me when I needed them most. We talk regularly, but I do not go to every family gathering. I keep my boundaries. As for Kyle, we have not really spoken. We see each other at big family events like Christmas or Thanksgiving, and we are civil, but we are not brothers the way we used to be. Maybe we will be again someday. Maybe not. I have made peace with either outcome. Amanda and Kyle got married quietly about 6 months after their son was born. There was no big celebration, just a courthouse ceremony with a few people. I heard about it through my mom. She did not ask me how I felt about it, which I appreciated. From what I understand, they are still together, but it is not easy. They struggle financially. They argue a lot. The fantasy they had of playing happy family has crashed into the reality of being two people who built a relationship on betrayal and are now stuck trying to make it work. I do not wish bad things on them. I really do not. But I also do not feel sorry for them. They made their choices. They knew what they were doing. And now they are living with the consequences. Meanwhile, I am living a life I actually like. I have a job I am proud of. I have friends who support me. I have a girlfriend who respects me. I have my dignity. And honestly, that is all I ever wanted. Looking back now, I do not regret how I handled it. I could have stayed silent, swallowed the pain, and let them have their way. But I chose myself. And that choice, as hard as it was, set me free. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same. I learned that loyalty has to go both ways. Family does not mean you accept everything without question. Self-respect is non-negotiable. You cannot let people walk all over you just because they are related to you or because everyone else thinks you should be the bigger person. Actions have consequences. Kyle and Amanda thought they could have everything. They thought I would just disappear quietly. But betrayal always has a price. I also learned that you cannot control what other people do. You can only control how you respond. I could not stop the betrayal, but I controlled my response, and that made all the difference. Real family supports you. They do not demand that you sacrifice your happiness for theirs. The people who truly love you will stand by you, not ask you to destroy yourself for their comfort. And if you ever find yourself in a situation where everyone expects you to be the bigger person, remember this. Being the bigger person does not mean making yourself smaller. It means standing tall even when everyone else wants you to bend. So, let me ask you, if you were in my position, what would you have done? Would you have walked away quietly, or would you have stood up for yourself the way I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know. And if this story resonated with you, if it made you think about your own boundaries and self-respect, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who might be struggling with their own situation and needs a reminder that they deserve better. Thank you for listening to my story. I know it was not easy to hear, but I appreciate you being here. Take care of yourself. Protect your peace. And remember, you are worth fighting for.